Week 1 of Big Brother 27 has come and gone, and even though it's only been a week, this house is serving all-time messiness and chaos. It feels like everybody in the house has somebody that they hate, to different extents of course, but this house has so much drama, and it's only been a week. It feels like we are in primetime old school Big Brother. But how did it all break down? Well, that's why I'm here. In this video, I'm going to be recapping the events of week 1 of Big Brother 27 and giving my first power ranking of the season. So with all of that preamble out of the way, it is the one and only RJ21 here, and let's get into the Big Brother 27 week 1 recap and power ranking. Week 1 starts off with the 16 house guests moving into the Big Brother house. And while all of them are chatting and getting to know one another, there is a very suspicious looking timer that is slowly counting down. And once all of the house guests are together and talking to Julie, the lights are cut from the house. And when the lights come back on, Julie is missing, and so is an HOH relic. After that, the house receives a phone call that Lauren picks up that instructs them to divide themselves randomly into two groups. One group that is going to find Julie, and another group that is going to find the HOH relic. In the Find Julie competition, the house guests have to first assemble a bridge to cross a lava path, and then have to listen in to a bunch of doors, all of them spitting facts about what Julie was potentially wearing, with only one of the doors being correct. Whichever house guest can figure out which door is correct and bring the correct key card and free Julie will win this competition. The competition is pretty close, and it's honestly between Adrian and Zach, but by the end of it, Zach wins the competition, finding the correct key card and freeing Julie, where she's actually there. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I definitely was not expecting Julie to actually be there for the competition, but it was a pleasant surprise nonetheless. In the HOH relic competition, the house guests have to figure out which one is the real one, as it is hidden amongst a bunch of fakes. In order to figure out which HOH relic is the real one, a bunch of clues are scattered throughout the room, on the walls, or on the podiums that they have to decipher in order to lead them to the correct one. But if they end up choosing the incorrect one, they fall down a pit. Like, it honestly looked kind of scary, but ultimately, the last two people it comes down to are Ashley and Jimmy, with Jimmy winning the HOH relic competition. Once all the house guests reconvene, it is revealed what each of the winners won. For finding Julie, Zach won $10,000, which is already pretty enticing in and of itself, but that $10,000 comes with a secret power. Throughout the entire pre-jury phase, at any one post-veto ceremony, if Zach is still on the block, Zach can pay the HOH $10,000 to remove himself from the block. It is a one-sided deal, meaning the HOH is forced to accept this. And some people think that this guarantees Zach his entire safety throughout the entire pre-jury phase, but I have other thoughts about that I don't personally agree with, but that's besides the point. On the other hand, Jimmy learns that for finding the HOH relic, he gets the power to select which 4 house guests, and only 4 house guests, get to compete in the first HOH competition, putting a lot of power in his hands. Jimmy is having his conversations about who he should put into the competition to compete, with a majority of the house saying that they do not want to compete whatsoever. Ultimately, the 4 people that are chosen are Jimmy himself, Ashley, Adrian, and Vince. We then get to the Destroy the Lair HOH competition, where the house guests have to balance bombs on all of these sticks, and whoever can successfully balance all of their bombs for 10 seconds will become the new head of household. It's essentially the competition from Big Brother Reindeer Games where they had to balance the jingle bells. It's basically that competition. Ultimately, the competition is relatively close between Adrian and Vince, but by the end of it, Vince is the one who comes out on top, becoming the first head of household of the season. After that, all of the house guests reconvene and they're all celebrating Vince's HOH win until the mastermind comes back onto the TV screen and reveals that he's not done quite yet. And he has one more big twist in store for tonight. And it's a pretty big one, as Big Brother alumni Rachel Riley, Big Brother 12 house guest, and Big Brother 13 winner is coming back into the game. Not as like a cameo or some sort of NPC. No, she is coming back as an actual player. Not only that, the mastermind reveals that he has a secret accomplice hidden amongst the 16 house guests. And if the house cannot correctly identify and vote out whoever this secret accomplice is, they will officially enter the game as the 17th house guest, meaning that is one more person everybody has to play against in order to win Big Brother. There is a lot of speculation thrown around with people trying to find any sort of reason to target somebody or why somebody might be the accomplice. A bunch of reasons are being thrown around, but ultimately the house decides that they need to come together, at least for this one vote, and figure out who this accomplice is. The main two suspects are Zay, who ends up receiving 5 of the 16 votes, and Riley, who ends up receiving the majority 11 of the 16 votes. But it is revealed that Riley is not the Big Brother accomplice. And as a matter of fact, the secret accomplice is Amy. I had no idea that it was Amy. Me personally, I thought it was Morgan based on her confessionals, but Amy was the secret accomplice, and she had to complete a set of specific tasks in order to fulfill her duties as the accomplice. And because she did not receive the majority of the votes, she officially enters the house as the 17th house guest and is going to be playing the game this season. If you thought the twists were over, you haven't seen anything yet, as because Rachel was a quote-unquote late entry, the Big Brother house technically doesn't have a bed for her, so Rachel is automatically a have-not. But being a have-not comes with power this week, as being a have-not in this first week guarantees you safety for the first week, meaning Rachel automatically has safety. But it gets bigger than that, as Rachel will be the start of a safety chain, where whoever is a part of the have-nots will be safe for the first week. Rachel ends up choosing Will ends up choosing Zach, and Zach ends up choosing Ava, making the 4 of them completely safe for the first week. We then see some initial alliances forming, with Jimmy, Morgan, and Mickey forming the Triple Threat Alliance, while Amy and Rachel are forming the Mom Squad 2.0, which is ironic considering the Mom Squad 1.0 was formed by Rachel's sister Alyssa back on Big Brother 15, so that was a pretty nice full circle moment. We then get to the biggest and probably dumbest piece of drama throughout this first week in Showergate, where Ashley asks to use Vince's HOH shower, and she ends up spending 2 hours up in that shower. And everybody else is complaining about it, saying how she's being inconsiderate and she's being a bad roommate. And it's so bad where people are saying that it could get her put up on the block. Because Amy actually cares about Ashley, Amy decides to warn Ashley and tell her that she needs to nip this situation in the bud before it becomes something way bigger. And Ashley does the exact opposite, being super confrontational towards other house guests and almost being kind of threatening towards them, talking about how it's just a shower. And most people don't actually care, but the way in which Ashley handles it did not make the situation any better. We then see Vince having his HOH conversation. He first has a conversation with Jimmy, and he talks about how he wants to stick loyal to that initial deal he made with the 4 people who competed in the HOH competition, meaning he wants to keep Jimmy, Ashley, and Adrian safe because of that initial deal. We then see Vince talk to Kelley, where they solidify a final 2, but Kelley says that if you need to put up another person, you can put up me, essentially volunteering herself for the block, which is a big no-no, and we definitely see this come back to bite her later on. We then see Vince have a conversation with Zay, where Vince alludes to the fact that he is going to put Zay up due to the fact that he was one of the people accused of being the accomplice. But Zay does not want this to happen, but Vince honestly does not care what Zay thinks. We then see Vince trying to have his HOH conversations with everybody else, and everybody is bringing up Ashley, to the point where Ashley is getting super paranoid, and she's actually eavesdropping in on other people's HOH conversations, and she is trying to get in a conversation with Vince, which is not making Vince feel any safer. Vince then has one final conversation with Amy, where Amy tries talking about how there are bigger fish to fry in the house, and how targeting Ashley over a shower is stupid, where Amy then starts crying out of nowhere. And in Vince's mind, this exposes how close Amy and Ashley are. So, to reduce the amount of people that are upset at Vince, he thinks of putting Amy up. So, at the nomination ceremony, Vince chooses to nominate Zay, Amy, and Ashley, with Ashley as the target. After the nomination ceremony, Ashley does not handle the news well, as she is crying. And I mean, like, she is bawling over the fact that she could potentially be the first one going home over a shower. And even though Vince tries to console her, it does not work at all, as Vince is not going to save Ashley, and Ashley is going to be actively targeting Vince. On the other hand, Zay handles his nomination very well, trying to build some sort of alliance or allegiance with Vince, which is honestly shifting the target away from Zay and firmly putting it onto Ashley. Speaking of alliances, we see more people trying to form alliances, as the likes of Jimmy, Morgan, Rachel, Zach, Vince, and Riley come together to form the Heavy Hitters Alliance. How real is this alliance? Not that real, let's be honest. We then pick place for the veto competition, where the HOH and Vince, the 3 nominees in Amy, Ashley, and Zay, and Rachel and Zach, who are selected by random draw, are all selected to compete. This veto competition is called Campsite Caper, and it's essentially one big puzzle. They have to go to all of these different sites and figure out all of the clues to decipher who the 3 felons are. Whoever can correctly identify all 3 felons first will win the golden power veto. And all of these house guests are scrambling, they're running around, they're sticking their heads in toilets, and it's a really funny visual. But by the end of it, the 2 people who are closest to winning are Ashley and Zay, with Ashley coming out on top and winning the power of veto, continuing this trend of a week 1 nominee winning the power of veto and saving themselves. With Ashley winning the power of veto and obviously going to save herself, Vince needs to make a renom, and Vince decides to take up Kelley on her deal, deciding to choose Kelley as the renom, as Kelley essentially volunteered herself. We then get to another source of drama, where Keanu and Jimmy are going at each other. It's basically one big game of telephone where Keanu wants to target Jimmy and Jimmy wants to target Keanu, and they're going back and forth and having these mafia-style conversations. And it was honestly really amusing, but it felt so drawn out and it was so unnecessary that the both of them were trying to actively target each other, making themselves both way bigger targets in the process. So at the veto ceremony, Ashley obviously uses the power veto to save herself, and Vince nominates Kelley as the replacement nominee, making the 3 nominees going into the BB blockbuster Amy, Kelley, and Zay. But before the veto ceremony is over, Jimmy decides to stand up and confront Keanu in front of the entire house, saying how if you're going to call me a snake, at least know that I'm a snake that bites. And Keanu honestly ended him with one statement about how long did that take you to make up, which honestly gagged him so hard, and I found that so funny. But it was just another fight that created even more drama. After the veto ceremony, we actually see Jimmy and Keanu reconcile, at least on the surface. They talk out their differences and they talk out how it was essentially just one big game of telephone. But despite this, Jimmy is still targeting Keanu, but he's going to be more low-key and on the DL about it. We then see Rachel doing a lot of campaigning, and I mean a lot of campaigning, to try and save Amy. But Zay is catching on to this, so Zay tries and confronts Rachel, but obviously, as a recruit, Zay has no idea what happens when you try and confront Rachel, as they end up having a huge fight, like an absolutely huge fight. We then get to the BB Blockbuster, the rebranded version of the AI Arena from last season, and this BB Blockbuster is called Ransom Note, where the house guests have to decipher all of these clues and unscramble the words to figure out which item they need to place on their pedestal and hit the buzzer. Essentially, it's like the Week 5 AI Arena from Big Brother 26, but this time, instead of multiple things, it's only one item. All of the house guests seem pretty locked in for this competition, but by the end of it, Kelley wins the BB Blockbuster, removing herself from the block, making Amy and Zay the final nominees. Although there is some final pushing, especially from the likes of Rachel, come the live vote and eviction by a vote of 9-5, Zay is the first house guest to be evicted from Big Brother 27.
How long did it take for you to come up with that?
Now it's time for the power ranking. At number 17, the first house guest evicted from Big Brother 27, we have Zay. And in terms of first boots, Zay honestly played a pretty good game, all things considered. Zay was only put up on the block because he was one of the people who was accused of being the accomplice. And because of that, Zay was never able to wash off that perception. That's the sole reason he was put up on the block. And similar to Matt in Big Brother 26, if you have a guy as physically fit and probably capable of doing really well in competitions on the block, especially in week 1, you have to take that shot, because when are you ever going to get a chance like that? And especially for somebody like Rachel, who knows that Zay is going to be coming after her, it just made Zay that much bigger of a target. However, I will say that Zay did some really, really good campaigning. There were multiple points in the week in which I thought that Zay had the votes to stay, but because of his physical stature and because of just his overall physical threat status, the votes were just never going to be there by the end of the vote, to where if Zay lost the BB Blockbuster, which he did, he was going to be going home. And unfortunately, despite being this big physical threat that everybody thought he wasn't able to win a single competition throughout his entire tenure in the Big Brother house, which is why he is here at number 17.
I like to think I'm the buns. You know, I kind of organize everything. I hold everything together, and I'm a little bit caked up. I got nice buns. What can I say?
Now it's time to talk about the house guests who are actually still in the game. At number 16, the house guest I believe to be in the worst position in the entire house is Keanu. And as much as I like Keanu and I sympathize with his story and his reasoning for being in the Big Brother house, he did so much wrong in that first week. Like, he was so unnecessarily messy. He was overplaying his hand way too hard. And he was trying to build like these 9, 10, 11, 12 person alliances to where I don't even think he himself knew who was in all of these alliances. He was unnecessarily throwing out people's names like Jimmy, and he was just playing so hard. He made himself a huge target to where, despite the fact that he mellowed out post veto ceremony, he is not able to shake off all of those initial bad vibes he gave off with how hard he was playing. People just simply don't trust him. And the fact that he is one of these bigger physical guys who isn't necessarily closely aligned with anybody, Keanu is the perfect target for people to try and go after. He's an easy nom. A lot of people in the house are targeting him, and unless Keanu is able to comp out and rebuild the power structure in his favor by winning, let's say, the week 2 HOH or the week 2 veto, I honestly am really struggling to see how Keanu does well in recovering his position. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets put up on the block in week 2 and is the initial house target. Does that stay? Probably, but who knows with this house. But in all honesty, I don't have the most faith in Keanu, which is why I have him here at number 16.
Jimmy, I agree. You're not a good liar, because you're lying to me right now.
At number 15, I have the first ever BB Blockbuster winner of the season in Kelley. And Kelley just did a lot of things wrong this week, and her biggest thing wrong is the fact that she volunteered herself to be a replacement nominee. The fact that she was volunteering herself to be a nominee, especially in week 1, is a horrible decision. It saps all of your social capital and it forces you to play from the bottom. And to begin with, Kelley didn't even have that good of social capital in the first place. So Kelley really didn't have any sort of good standing before she put herself in a position at risk, to where if Zay won the BB Blockbuster, Kelley would have gone home. The votes were there to save Amy and send Kelley out of the door. And beyond that, people wanted to send Kelley home regardless because Kelley was constantly joking about game information, and people had no idea where Kelley was standing and to where if she was serious or not. But now people know that Kelley is actively targeting Rachel's side of the house, and Rachel seems to have a majority of the numbers, so that immediately puts Kelley at a disadvantage. So unless she's able to win this week 2 HOH to flip the power structure in her favor, and she's able to get out a huge target in somebody like Rachel, I don't see things going well for Kelley, which is why I have her here at number 15.
I know I volunteered to be a pawn, but apparently pawns go home.
At number 14, I have the week 1 surviving nominee in Amy. And first and foremost, I need to give my kudos to her about being the accomplice. Me personally, I had no idea it was Amy. She played it off super well, and I have to give her her 10s on that. She did her thing. But in terms of her actual game, it's not looking too good. First and foremost, everybody is pinning her as Rachel's number 1 ally. And because of that, people want to target Amy to weaken Rachel. And everybody had that opportunity this week. Amy was on the block, and there was a really, really strong push to send Amy home. Mind you, their votes were never there to actually send Amy home, but because there are enough people in the house who actively want to send Amy home in order to weaken Rachel, it makes me really concerned about Amy's future in this game. Beyond that, Amy is so closely, tightly aligned with Rachel's side, she hasn't made any effective inroads with anybody on the other side of the house. Like, if somebody like, let's say, I don't know, if Vince were to win an HOH again in week 3, he could easily target Amy. If Kelley were to win an HOH, she would obviously nominate Amy. There's just so many people on that other side of the house who want to target Rachel and by extension Amy that I just am really concerned for Amy. She doesn't have the connective tissue to protect herself as somebody like Rachel, and I'm honestly really concerned for her, which is why I have her here at number 14.
I legit just became an official house guest and I'm on the block. Like, that's not how this was supposed to play out.
At number 13, I have our week 1 HOH in Vince. And Vince played this HOH pretty poorly. He pulled a Frenchie in the sense that he promised way too many people safety before the dynamics of the house were fully set out, to where he was forced to betray at least one of his deals by the time of nominations. I mean, he obviously didn't know that the have-not immunity twist was going to happen, but the fact that he promised all of the first 4 people in that first HOH safety and then immediately goes back on that word by trying to nominate and evict Ashley, it's just a super, super bad look for him. And I think because Vince was playing this week so sloppily and so messily, he lost a lot of potential social capital. while a lot of people are including him in these initial alliances, I think it's more so for the fact that because Vince is the week one HOH, and not necessarily because people actively want to work with Vince. So as soon as his HOH reign is up and he's no longer in a position of power, I don't see a lot of people actively going to bat for Vince and saying, we need to keep Vince in the house. Sure, he's a good number, but is he as valuable as an asset in comparison to other house guests? In my opinion, not really. I do think Vince has the potential to be good. He obviously has a very level headed mind for the strategy portion of the game. He's clearly being very methodical in thinking about what moves he wants to and needs to make. But I just fear that Vince's power structure and the stability he set up for his game, the foundation is so shaky that it's bound to crumble and he's bound to get sniped out of this game. Is he an immediate target just like Frenchie? No, absolutely not. But I fear for his longevity in the game, which is why I have him here at number 13.
All of a sudden, Amy starts crying out of nowhere, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Should I start crying too? Or do I just stare at her or maybe comfort her?
At number 12, I have the week one power veto winner and my preseason winner pick in Ashley. And in the preseason, Ashley seemed like the perfect prototypical Big Brother player. She seemed super in touch with her emotions. She seemed super social. She seemed physical enough. She obviously seemed super smart. So I had nothing but the highest praises to sing of Ashley. But then Showergate happened, and it was clear to me that Ashley lacked the social awareness to succeed in this game. She's not necessarily as cognizant about other people's emotions and how other people feel about her in this game that she needs to. And because she's so unaware of these things, this game is passing her by and she's slowly getting into a weaker and weaker position. This whole Showergate situation absolutely sapped all of her social capital, and she was only able to survive because she won the veto. If she didn't win this veto, she was going to be in a difficult spot no matter what. She was probably going to be the first boot if she doesn't win the BB Blockbuster. And even if she does win the BB Blockbuster, she's more likely than not on the bottom of the house alongside Keanu, to where she is an easy target. So Ashley got super fortunate in winning that week one veto, and she was able to do some decent work in recovering her position. She was able to create a final three with herself, Amy, and Rachel, which is obviously doing her well. She's slowly building tighter bonds with the likes of Mickey and Morgan. So those things are honestly benefiting her really well, but I still don't think Ashley has the backing she needs in order to go way deeper into this game. Is she capable of building those things? Absolutely. I think that if Showergate doesn't happen, Ashley is honestly a really palatable ally that people would want to work with. But because Ashley had that major social mishap in the beginning, and she hasn't been able to quite recover just yet, I don't feel the most confident in Ashley, which is why I have her here at number 12.
But I think he's a crock. Okay? All of his words mean nothing to me. It's just blah, 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 blah.
At number 11, I have Jimmy. And Jimmy is just doing way too much. Like, first and foremost, I love Jimmy as a character. I love him as a TV presence. He's bringing drama. He's bringing fights. And sure, it's a little corny and a little pre-scripted, but who cares? Drama is drama, and he is absolutely bringing it. He is such an entertaining character, and we honestly need more openly antagonistic figures on Big Brother, and I'm so glad that Jimmy is on this season. But in terms of this game, like I said, he's doing way too much. As entertaining as it is, he is super sloppy in his gameplay. It feels as though Jimmy needs to be in power. He needs to be in control, and he has this sense of urgency to where he needs to be the one calling the shots and directing the flow of the game in order to feel secure about his position, where it's like, you can chill out, Jimmy. Jimmy is a really social guy, and he has really good connective tissue, but Jimmy is just overplaying his hand way too hard. Like, it was so unnecessary for him to try and go after Keanu. Mind you, he only did that in response to Keanu going after him, but that's besides the point. If you're hearing about that, you should probably just let it go, considering the fact that now you are number one target for Keanu. And that's honestly not doing him too well. I fear for Jimmy because he's so openly out in front and because he's so openly making himself the figurehead of his side and his alliance. It's honestly going to be really tough for Jimmy to be able to recover from that. I don't think it's in Jimmy to play low-key whatsoever. I think Jimmy is always going to be this out-in-front figure. So unless Jimmy's side is constantly winning power, Jimmy is going to be in a really dangerous spot. But I do think Jimmy has enough protection around him and enough allies that are going to keep him safe, to where I have Jimmy here at number 11.
Okay, well, I mean, it's like expected and unexpected, so like you expect that maybe, but then it's like rolling your eyes a little bit. It's like annoying, like I'm not gonna lie.
At number 10, I have our late entry and Big Brother returnee in Rachel Riley. And I love Rachel. Like, Rachel is an all-time amazing Big Brother character, and she is obviously on the Mount Rushmore of Big Brother players in terms of iconicness. But coming into the season, I did not think Rachel was going to play that well. I thought Rachel was the same player she was back in Big Brother 12 and Big Brother 13, and seeing how messy she was on the Traitors, I was anticipating some of the same gameplay. But this season, she actually stepped it up super, super well. She's obviously been taking notes from the likes of Suri, and she's been having these super deep and meaningful conversations, to where she is building really, really good rapport with people you wouldn't typically expect her to build bonds with. Some people like the likes of Keanu. You wouldn't expect Rachel to naturally get along with him, but she has been going to work this season in building all of these bonds, and I honestly love her for that. My biggest indictment against her as of right now is the fact that she's Rachel Riley. Not only is she a former Big Brother player, not only is she a former icon, she's the only returning player in the house. And that honestly is going to put a target on Rachel by default. No matter how much connective tissue and how much protection Rachel is building around herself, she is always going to be a target. She has numerous people in the likes of Kelley and Vince who are actively targeting her. And despite Rachel having so much good back end, I just am kind of concerned for her. But I will say the back end she has is great. She is obviously closely aligned with all of the women. She's been able to build a final two with both the likes of Amy and Jimmy. She's been actively included in multiple alliances, such as the heavy hitters and the such. But honestly, I think it's going to do Rachel really, really well. As long as her side is able to stay in power, I think Rachel's going to be pretty good. But because she has such openly opposition against her, I have to put Rachel here at number 10.
How am I supposed to sleep in a room like this? I mean, I'm talking like my bed is like this.
At number 9, I have Riley. And Riley low-key surprised me, but not necessarily in the best way. In the preseason, I thought he was just going to be another like Southern cowboy figure. But then he talks about the game and he seems really game savvy. But then he actually gets into the house, and I have no idea what happened. It seems like Riley was correct, and he did in fact get caught up by a pretty woman in the likes of Katherine. And it seems like Riley has given up his entire game for Katherine, despite it being only like, what, 10 days? Like, you've known her for 10 days. Like, come on, like, be so for real right now. But outside of that, Riley is just a naturally affable and palatable ally that people want to work with. There was no reason why Riley should have been brought into the Heavy Hitters Alliance, but he was. There is decent reason why he was brought into the Burger Boys, but he was not actively playing hard enough to where he should have been brought into the Burger Boys, but he was brought in anyways. He's a naturally social guy, but I feel like because he is so passive strategically, this game is just passing him by. He has a lot of good foundation that he could build upon to put himself in a prime position for future weeks. But because he is essentially coasting by and he's not really doing much and is just listening to what other people are telling him to do rather than making his own moves, I am a bit concerned for Riley. Is he an immediate target though? Absolutely not. Like, who in their right mind is going to be targeting Riley in these early stages? Like, Riley even flipped on the boys and voted out Zay at this first vote. So it's obvious that Riley does have some game sense in him, but I need him to be more active strategically in order for him to feel more secure about his spot in the game, which is why I have him here at number 9.
I don't lie, and I don't like being accused of being a liar.
At number 8, I have Katherine. And this is the most shaky placement to me because I just have no idea where Katherine is in the game right now. She is just not shown on the feeds for whatever reason. And because of that, I have no idea where she is in the house. Nobody is speaking badly about Katherine, so it's obvious that she's building some sort of good inroads. It seems like she's building really good bonds with the women, especially in the likes of Rachel Riley and Lauren. So it's obvious that Katherine does have some sort of good backing behind her, but I don't know how she's branching out with the other side. Like, yes, she is building this bond with Riley, maybe not by her own choice, but she does have this bond with Riley that is obviously going to protect her. But outside of that, what does she have? I don't really know. Yes, the women backing is super strong, and yes, it's really good that she has multiple final twos at this point, but I'm just super concerned for Katherine because I genuinely have no idea where her head is at. Obviously, she was with the majority in voting to keep Amy in the house because she's obviously going to be supporting this all women's alliance, or at least all of the women sticking together, at least in the beginning. But I just need to see more from Katherine. I'm sure she's doing fine in the game. Like, nobody is targeting her for whatever reason, which is obviously a great thing for her. But I just need to see more from Katherine, which is why I have her here at number 8.
Ashley, you can shower. It's fine. I did not care. I made a joke over a shower. A shower.
At number 7, I have Adrian, and I will fully eat my words. I thought Adrian was going to flame out and play himself out of the game like so hard based on his preseason interviews, but maybe Adrian is actually the greatest Big Brother player of all time. Who knows? Adrian is playing a super low-key, under-the-radar game, which is honestly super impressive considering how strategically active and messy and chaotic this house is. It's really hard to try and stay low-key when all of these things are going on, to where it's almost an inevitability for somebody to be included in this, whether they like it or not. But somehow Adrian has been able to duck underneath all of it. And it's honestly really, really impressive. The only thing I'm concerned about for Adrian is the fact that he doesn't have like the most alliances and connections in the world. Yes, he does have this final 3 with the likes of him, Will, and Ava. And yes, he is building these really strong bonds with like the have-nots and such. And he does have really strong rapport with the boys, but I just need Adrian to branch out just a little bit more. I think the fact that he was laying so low under the radar and he was staying so low key that he wasn't necessarily building the most relationships that he needed. Mind you, he was still building really good relationships, and I think his honesty is something that is going to boon his game in the future. The fact that he told Amy straight up to her face that I am not going to vote to keep you because I want to keep Zay in the game if it was an Amy versus Zay situation, despite it technically being a vote against Amy, I think that actually built him really strong rapport with that side of the house because it shows that he is a man of his word and he is going to stay loyal to what he says he is going to do. And I think that's a really enticing attribute that Adrian has. And if he can exploit that in future weeks, people are going to want to include him in more of these alliances because this house structure is bound to reconfigure itself, especially in week 2, depending on who wins this HOH. And I could see Adrian skyrocketing into a power position if he plays his cards right. But as of right now, Adrian has fine enough connections. He has fine enough alliances. As long as he expands them more in these future weeks and starts building up with more power players and players who are more openly out in front, I think Adrian has a really, really good shot at winning this game, which is why I have him here at number 7.
I don't know what he wants.
You're yelling at me, but you're doing nothing. I don't know what you want, bro. You're playing with my feelings here.
At number 6, I have Ava, and I'm so glad Ava is doing well because I love Ava as a character. She is so funny, and it's just like her sense of humor is just absolutely hilarious, and it absolutely resonates with me. So I'm glad she's doing this well in the game. But with her having this have-not immunity, she was able to skate by this week. But she didn't coast or anything. Like, let's be clear, she is not a coaster in any sense. She is still actively involved in a lot of the things that are going on. And she was able to position herself as one of the pivotal swing votes that were needed by both sides of the house that people were constantly jockeying for. So Ava put herself in a really good position in that sense. Like I stated with Adrian, she was able to build this really solid alliance between herself, Will, and Adrian. It seems like she does have some sort of final 2 with Will, which is doing really well for her. And I honestly can see Ava doing really well as long as she's able to continue building all of these alliances, especially with the women. Like, the women absolutely love and adore Ava, and they want to include her in more stuff. So as long as Ava is able to capitalize on that, I think Ava is going to do very long for this game. Like, I don't see anybody targeting Ava anytime soon. Like, there's no reason why Ava should be targeted. She's not a coaster in any sense. Like, she's not doing nothing. She is actively contributing to a lot of the things that are going on in this house. And if Ava can continue doing that, I think she's going to be in a really, really good position, which is why I have her here at number 6.
So this first week, I've pretty much just been vibing, especially because I'm safe as a have-not.
At number 5, I have Zach. And Zach is honestly doing what I expected him to do. I said in the preseason that he's most likely going to be this palatable ally, this guy that you would typically expect to do well. He's like this prototypical male big brother house guest that you would expect to go far. And he's pretty much doing all of those things that I expected. He's in this all guys alliance that are like the bros. He's been included in all these majority alliances, like the heavy hitters and the burger boys. Like, he's been included in all of these things like I expected him to do. And honestly, I foresee him going pretty far because of that. Zach is just a good guy that people want to naturally include in alliances. And because of that, people are actively protecting Zach. Although people don't necessarily want to take Zach all the way to the end, people want to take Zach far. And I feel like with more time that Zach spends in the game, the more that Zach is going to be able to build for himself. And I honestly think that that's just what he needs to do. Plus, he has this jury safety power to where if he's on the block post veto, he can just buy his way off of the block. And while people are saying that, oh, that buys him safety until jury, I personally don't think so, because this house, for lack of a better term, is broke as hell. And these people are willing to do whatever it takes to get this money. I mean, did you see how everybody was reacting when Zach initially won that 10K? If somebody like Ava were to win HOH and heard that Zach had this 10K power, Ava is 100% putting Zach on the block just so she can get that money. So while Zach is not necessarily guaranteed safety throughout this entire pre-jury phase, I think his connections and his alliances are definitely going to buy him a very long time in this game. It's just a matter of if Zach is going to be complacent or not in sticking with these alliances, or if he's actually going to make an active move. But because he has such a good backing, I have to put him here at number 5.
There's so many different smells. They all smelled like booty cheeks, for real.
At number 4, I have Lauren. And to me, Lauren is essentially a better positioned, more active version of Katherine. I think they're both fulfilling very similar roles in the sense that they are these bit of a floater figure to where people don't necessarily understand where they align, but Lauren is able to play both sides very well. She obviously has this connection with Zach, which I don't necessarily think she has a choice in that, but nonetheless, she has this connection with Zach that she is exploiting really well. She's very tightly aligned with the women, and everybody values her as a really, really good asset. People want to work with Lauren. People want to include Lauren in all of these alliances, to where Lauren is somebody that is a very, very valuable house guest. I think Lauren is doing a very, very good job in staying low-key, staying under the radar. She said she wanted to play a Nicole Franzel-esque type of game, and I think Lauren is doing that very, very well. She is diminishing her threat level to an absolutely minuscule margin to where nobody is threatened by Lauren in this game. Everybody wants to work with Lauren, and everybody sees Lauren as somebody that they want to work with. Lauren has all of these alliances that she can further build upon in future weeks. And because I have a lot more solid reasoning with her than I do with Katherine, I feel a lot more confident in Lauren than I do with Katherine. So as long as Lauren doesn't get too caught up in the showmance, which she has actively stated that she is not interested in that whatsoever, which go you, girl. Like, thank God you're not falling for the showmance with Zach. But as long as she doesn't get caught up in that, or rather Zach tries getting caught up in that with her, I think Lauren is going to do very well in this game. She's a very valuable player, and I foresee her going pretty far, which is why I have her here at number 4.
It's got to be somebody that we're not even thinking about. But the question is, which girl is it? Because it's not me.
At number 3, I have Morgan. And let's go, fellow gamers. Come on now. Morgan is repping for the gamers out there, and she's honestly doing a really, really good job. She's a very strategically active player, but she's not so far out in front like somebody like a Jimmy or Keanu, where she's making herself a threat. She is making it known that she wants these things to happen, but she's not pushing for them so hard to where people are being threatened by her, or people feel that she's playing too hard and they need to take her out. Like, people are just taking that as Morgan being very actively involved in the things that are going on in this house. Morgan was one of the strongest proponents for Zay to go home, and she was one of the biggest pushers of Zay going home, and I absolutely love that, because Zay is somebody who's really, really bad for Morgan's game. So the fact that Morgan was able to identify that and put in effective work to make that happen, it's really, really good for her game. Despite Morgan having some allies who wanted to keep Zay around for whatever reason, Morgan was able to dissuade them from that and was able to put them on her correct path in sending Zay home. So it's obviously clear that Morgan does have all of this sway in terms of influencing people. My only concern with Morgan is some people are clocking her. I remember earlier in the week, Ashley said that Jimmy thinks he's the puppet master, but Morgan actually is, or something to that extent. And that makes me really, really worried about Morgan. Some people are clocking her this early on into the game, and I could definitely see her getting snapped out of this game like somebody like an Amira from Big Brother 24 or Brooklyn from Big Brother 26. These players who were in a power position in the beginning, but their position just slowly, slowly withered away to where they get sniped out of the game. So I think Morgan definitely has some things to be worried about. But as of right now, she has such a good protection and such good alliances around her that I'm really not concerned for her. And she's proving that she can influence and persuade others to do what she wants. So Morgan really has a lot of power in this game. And I can definitely foresee her going far as long as she doesn't get sniped out, which is why I have her here at number 3.
I am 100% not letting these house guests know that I'm a gamer. And like this house being a mystery, well, so am I.
At number 2, I have Will. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not, but I am really high on Will's game. I don't know if I'm missing some big component about Will's game or not, but to me, it seems like Will is in a really, really good position. I mean, Will has all of these alliances and all of these one-on-one connections and bonds that I think are going to take him far. He's obviously like broing down with the bros because he's a guy, and obviously guys have to stick together. But even though he was brought into the alliance of the Burger Boys, it seems like he's not undyingly loyal to them. Even though he did vote with them in voting to keep Zay, I think that's more so a fact of keeping up the facade with the guys that, hey, he's with the guys. But in all honesty, he's a girl dad, and he's so closely aligned with a majority of the women on the other side. Like, he's being brought into these all-women alliances, and he's the only guy because the women trust him that much. He does nothing but speak highly and sing the praises of everybody in the house, and he's just such a good guy that everybody wants to bring him into their alliances. And it is showing because Will is getting exactly what he wanted. Will said in the preseason that he wants to build this 6-person alliance with everybody having diverse skill sets, and he got exactly that in the bond. Like, that is an alliance, I think, if they can amass power sooner rather than later, that is going to skyrocket Will into a power position. Will is a house guest where their life experience is actually paying off in the end. Like, Will said he served like 3 lifetimes, but this time it's actually paying off, unlike previous older house guests. So I have a lot of faith in Will. I just am worried that because Will is still the quote-unquote old guy of the house, some people may see him as expendable, and he might get like put up on the block as like a pawn of some sort. But all in all, I think Will is in a really, really strong position, which is why I have him here at number 2.
Man, I'm 50. I'm gonna sit in my little corner because what's really going on is they're making themselves targets by lifting all that damn weight.
At number 1, the house guest I believe to be in the best position in the house as of week 1 is Mickey. And Mickey is essentially what Morgan and Jimmy wanted to be, but better. Mickey is actively involved strategically in all of the decision making that's being made, and she does have a lot of direct control and influence over what is going on in the house, but she's not making herself a target, and she doesn't have any people targeting her as of right now. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody in a one-off conversation said that they wanted to target Mickey, but there are such bigger threats ahead of Mickey that I don't see any reason as to why Mickey should be a target. Despite being the one to actively push for Ashley to go up on the block, Mickey was able to build a super, super tight alliance with Ashley to the point where Ashley considers Mickey one of her closest allies, despite Mickey being one of the biggest proponents to put Ashley on the block. But I digress. Mickey is doing a really, really good job at just building connections and alliances with people. She is closely aligned with the likes of Morgan and Jimmy in the Triple Threat Alliance. Even though she's not included in the heavy hitters, she's closely aligned with all of those people individually in the heavy hitters. She has really good ties with the other side of the house. Players like Vince and Kelley are actively looking at Mickey as somebody who, while they might not be the closest aligned to, she's somebody that they value as a player and they need to work with. And that is paying off in dividends with Mickey. She is showing very early on that she's able to amass power in this game, and she is able to capitalize on that. As long as Mickey doesn't let go of the control she has, or she doesn't try grasping onto that control too hard and puts herself out in front like Jimmy, I think Mickey is going to be in a very, very good position that is due for very long in this game. I don't see Mickey getting targeted anytime in the foreseeable future unless the house completely blows up. Well, and in that sense, who could really predict that? But Mickey is in such a solid position to where everybody likes her, everybody wants to work with her, and I foresee Mickey going very, very far with a lot of influence, which is why I have her here at number 1.
He's a dungeon master, and I'm immediately thinking, like, in the most inappropriate way possible.
That is crazy.
Overall, this house is messy and chaotic and bringing so much drama. I feel like I lived an entire season of Big Brother already, and it's only been 1 week. This house is serving on all different levels and firing on all sorts of cannons, and I am absolutely here for it. It's obvious that this BB blockbuster is an all-time amazing twist, and because it is a permanent addition of the format, at least for this season, I think this season is going to be continuing and serving on that drama. I think it's going to continue to deliver on the entertainment standpoint, and it's obvious that this cast is playing super hard strategically. Is it good strategy? No, absolutely not. Pretty much everybody is super messy and sloppy in terms of all of their strategies and how they're going about all of their plans. Everybody's a super messy player to a certain extent, but it is bringing absolutely peak entertainment and drama, and I am absolutely here for it. As long as the season doesn't wither away in the second half like a Big Brother 25, I think the season is on pace to be a really, really good one. But it is only 1 week, so let me not get too ahead of myself. But as of right now, I think this is going to be a really good season. But those are just my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you have any of those, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
I'm suspicious of Zay. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the frosted tips.